Yeah? Wait, sorry, is this microphone on? Can you make a little noise? A little noise? People up too late last night? Is that what's happening? Okay, so I want you to forget everything that Darcy just said. I'm showing up here as a front row student in this amazing classroom. I'm not the professor, I'm just the student. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to three of my favorite people and three of my favorite innovators. Truly, if I talk too much, someone throw a tomato at me, okay? Because I'm just here to listen. Can I please get my amazing guests to quickly, I'm gonna ask you for two things. One, introduce yourself. What's your street cred? And two, what's your favorite specific example of using generative AI? Diarra, can we start with you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Diarra Bousso, and I am a former Wall Street trader turned creative mathematician. So now I run a fashion startup using math and AI to design clothes, like what I'm wearing. And the company started in Jeremy's classroom at Stanford, actually. So full circle moment here. One of my favorite examples of AI is I hired this intern, this marketing intern. Her name is Carolina. She's from Brazil, so her first language is Portuguese. So she's not really fluent in English, or she was not. And I used to spend 3 to 4 hours a week just reviewing her work and giving her ideas and explaining conceptually what I would expect of her, even though I knew she was very talented and motivated. Since she started using AI, she was like the first person I shared ChatGPT with when it came out. She's gone on, first of all, I don't have to spend that time overseeing her at that level anymore. I'm saving probably 200 hours a year, just like from her being independent. But she's gotten so good because I feel like with AI, she's learned how to learn. Like she can teach herself anything. She can figure out the way to solve any problem. And she's generated millions of dollars in sales just from her own ideas and execution without me getting involved. And she's training a whole team underneath her who doesn't speak English. So, and we are a San Francisco-based company, English. I mean, she's the one handling PR. I don't have a PR firm. And we're getting featured in Forbes and Vogue and CNN and all this automation she said, because she's sending out press releases. She just knows how to hack the system. And that's, to me, like the most fulfilling experience, because she basically taught herself how to learn and how to hack with AI, and anybody can do it.
Okay, that's so stinking cool. And I would just say Diarra acts like she has nothing to do with it. It's just this amazing Brazilian intern who's, Diarra has a lot to do with setting company culture, which we'll talk about in a second. But before we do, Jenny.
My name is Jenny Nicholson. I am a failed therapist, a creative director, a strategist, a creative technologist, a lover of large language models, and a lover of humans. I work in advertising as my day job, and my favorite story about Gen AI is about 3 months ago. It was the 3rd snow day in a row. I'm a single mom with a full-time executive job and a lot of consulting, because why do one thing when you could do 7? My kid is spirited, and I was like, I'm gonna lose my mind. My house is a mess, my kid is going crazy, I have 4 meetings, and Claude and I said, Claude, my kid is freaking out, I'm a single mom, I have 4 meetings, my house is a mess, can we make something that will get her to clean the house and have her feel really good about herself? I suspect she has ADHD like me, so maybe if we could use our dopamine jacking knowledge for good. And we ended up making this game called Home Hero, where she does things to earn points. Claude gave me printouts, gave me a reward shop, and now she is at 8,932 points 2 months later and is still cleaning the litter box.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And if anybody wants a link to that Claude project, I'm sure Jenny would be happy to share it for your special child. Last but not least, Rachael, please.
Hi, I'm Rachael Hadaway, and I'm VP of Product Management focused on AI and Gen AI here at FICO. And prior to being at FICO, I developed Gen AI products for retail, specifically grocery stores, which really needed the help. But my specific example is actually my 76-year-old mom, who is in charge of writing the newsletter for her over 55 community. So pickleball, fishing, you name, mall trips. And she doesn't even realize she's using AI products. She just went onto Canva, clicked on this little wizard button, she calls it, and in a matter of 5 minutes, she's created a really detailed newsletter that used to take them, well, they had their own issues in collaboration, But it used to take them, 17 days to create this newsletter. They now can create it in about 17 minutes. She's never even probably heard the word AI, but she's doing it.
That's cool. That's really cool.
How about you, Jeremy? Want to hear your own?
One of my favorite recent use cases is I've gotten a privilege to work with the National Park Service. You might have heard they're a little bit under pressure right now. And so I've been working with a bunch of backcountry rangers and facilities managers in the Park Service and conducting basic introductory kind of foundation, level setting, skill building exercises for the service. One of the facilities managers, a guy named Adam Reimer in Glen Canyon National Park, I asked the question, what sucks at work? Because it doesn't have to suck anymore. And I just give them a simple prompt. You can all write down, you can all finish this prompt if you want. It sucks that, fill in the blank. And Adam said, it sucks that whenever I've got to replace a carpet tile, I got to spend a couple days filling out paperwork with ANSI requirements and OSHA standards and ADA protocols, and I got to look up cultural heritage preservation documents, and I'm just the junior park ranger guy. And so in 45 minutes, Adam built a tool that saved him 2 days that day, but he creates statements of work like that about 15 times a year. So the tool he built in 45 minutes is going to save him 30 days this year. But then someone in the Park Service caught wind of it and started sharing his tool. There's 435 parks. I know there's a few management consultants in here. You do the quick back of the envelope calculation. The National Park Service is estimating that the tool Adam built in 45 minutes is going to save the National Park Service over 7,000 days of labor this year. So that's pretty cool. What we want to talk about today is the intersection of AI and creativity and innovation. And I know as Darcy mentioned, I'm a professional nerd, so I've been studying creativity and innovation for a long time. And there was for a while, there was this sense that creativity is the last bastion of human capability. AI is not going to touch it. And I just think that's an unhelpful framing. And so what I wanted to do is ask these three amazingly experienced leaders in the world of creativity to talk first about what is the impact of generative AI on, call it, your bread and butter workflows, the stuff that people have always thought, this is a uniquely human, uniquely creative task. What's the impact of generative AI on that task? So I'll start with Diarra. Would you tell us from the world of fashion design, what's kind of a bread and butter workflow and how is Gen AI impacting that workflow?
So first of all, I didn't come into the fashion industry as an insider. I came from finance and math. So when I came in, I was ready to challenge the norms because I didn't even know what those norms are. And I found out that to launch a fashion collection generally takes 6 months. That's why Fashion Week happens 6 months before the season. And the product development phase is very time consuming and expensive. So you go from sketching to prototyping, to doing a fitting, to redoing it all again if it doesn't fit, all the way to the photo shoot, all the way to market, and then launching the product. And with Gen AI, I can shortcut that whole system to a day or two in terms of the whole prototyping phase. So what I do is that I create digital avatars of the models and the designs, and I run them on social media. So I'm constantly posting them on Instagram stories and ask people to vote. And we crowdsource and only produce what people actually want. But that whole process of design and development, that generally takes a lot of iteration, a lot of cost, because you actually produce physical samples, shoot them on a real model, put them out to the market, invite industry leaders to give you their opinion. I just do it online. I'll get the avatar created on the computer, I'll run it on socials, and within 24 hours, when the stories expire on Instagram, I already know what are the winners and what are the losers. And then I can actually focus on producing only the winners, saving a lot of time and money. So we go from 6 months to 2 days. And for me, that's a massive, massive win for us.
That's incredible. Even the sustainability impact, right? The environmental impact. There's so much there that we could unpack. Hopefully, folks will grab Diarra afterwards to get more details there. But Jenny, what's that reinvention of the work process look like for you in your world?
So I'm a professional creative, which is kind of a little bit of an oxymoron, right? It's like I both like to make really interesting creative things and I have to get work done because my job at the end of the day is to make money for companies. And I think one thing I see a lot is everybody comes and says, I want a tool. I want a platform. The number of times I've heard, I want an AI, and it's always like that does the whole job. And I think there is this natural tendency as humans to think about AI as something outside of ourselves, as this thing that exists, as though you were buying like a new project management platform like Asana, when it actually has to come from inside you. And so one of the things I came to realize is I'm like, I have no shortage of ideas. Now I can go from an idea to something that actually works, and I can make things that are both fun and things that are useful, and I don't have to pick. So for example, last week I made a web app that vastly speeds up UGC content sourcing on TikTok by using a workaround from this thing called Google Programmable Search Engine, which I did not know existed until ChatGPT told me, that automatically sends the selects to Airtable filled in with 8 things. I also built a video analysis Python script pipeline that uses Gemini, that also uses Python to chunk up the videos and then pass one chunk at a time, collate the analysis. And also in the same week, I was able to launch a game called White Smoke, where you play as a cardinal trying to become the next pope. And it was a fully fleshed out, ridiculous, fun game that had AI opponents, that had logic. And I did all of those things in the same week, and I'm just one person. And so I think this idea that you don't have to have the model do for you what you already do, but faster, you can have the models help you do things that you couldn't do before. So I'm a writer who now is also a Python developer, who's also an expert in Node.js, and I have the entire of the human collective to join me the next time I want to learn anything I'm interested in.
That is so, the compression that you both have spoken about is so profound. I'll give one example that just came to my mind as you were talking. I was in Mexico a couple weeks ago working with a big retailer, and they had a bunch of AI ideas. The number of people who said, you should write AI idea flow, right? But they have all these AI ideas, and I asked them, okay, just back of the envelope, how long will it take, and what budget do you need to request from the management team? And there were about 100 people in the room, 10 different kind of AI ideas, and the mode response was somewhere around, it's gonna take 8 or 9 weeks, 50K, 60K. They went to lunch, and me and my co-teacher, neither of whom are like professional developers, built one of the ideas during lunch. And when they came back from lunch, we said, how long did you say the recommendation engine was going to take? And they said, 9 weeks, 60K. We go, yeah, we built that over lunch.
I think we don't know what we're allowed to have. I think we have this scarcity mindset because we've all been told no so many times for so long that when I'm like, no, you can build pretty much anything if you have time, patience, and curiosity, and everybody's like, you're lying. And I'm like, okay, all right.
There's got to be a radical recalibration. Rachel, let's hear from you. What does that recalibration look like for you?
So we've talked a lot of examples around saving time, do it faster, but actually the compressing and changing of the workflow can be not related at all to the goal of saving time. So I worked in retail, and do you remember prior to the pandemic, the way that we got groceries is we went into the store, we did all the work, we shopped. If an item was out of stock, we picked the other item. And so that mentality carried into the pandemic. And so as you were ordering online, because none of us were in the store, grocery stores were still using that same mentality. They wanted to care about their customers, so they had people picking out the items. And I don't know about you, but I got a lot of really crappy baskets delivered to my house. And what happened is it forced these retailers to use AI, to use all kinds of new services to make sure that what showed up on your front door was right. And people don't care that someone human picked it as long as the items in the basket are correct. So these tools, not only do they make it faster, easier, scalable, they actually can show that you care about your customers by getting things right. And so I think there's so many applications, especially in banking, where we can really care about our customers by using technology.
That's beautiful. Let's talk for a second about leadership, because I think a lot of folks in this room they're responsible for teams, they're responsible for unleashing, cultivating other people. I'd love to hear from each of you briefly, what are some tactics you have employed to unleash the people who work with you?
For me, it's really documenting. Like, I work in public, so I have, this thing that you can't level up in private and expect your team to level up. So, like, I have all these hacks and things that I come up with and I love, but then I record myself doing it. So I use this tool called Loom, and I do screen recordings when I'm doing something really cool and smart. I know it's making my life easier and faster. I record it and just share it with the team. And then when we have team meetings once a week, I give AI shout-outs. Like, I will celebrate, wow, Matthias did such a good job. We've been doing this task, and this is what he's accomplished, and he used this AI tool to do it. And in a way, it's like the opposite of AI shaming, because I think there's a lot of shame and like, oh, I didn't write this email myself, ChatGPT wrote it for me, or I use this tool, it makes it look almost easy, like I'm not smart. And I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm celebrating and shouting out people who are using AI, and I'm documenting how I'm using it and showing to the team, because I used to be told that I work too fast, and it's hard for people to keep up, versus now I'm like, I'm fast because I have these tools, and you can use them too. Here's how to use it. And if you use them, I will celebrate you in public. And it's really have created a culture of just like AI superheroes in my company, and I'm really proud of it.
That's so cool. That's
how about
so
you,
cool.
Jeremy?
No, I gotta hear from you.
Yeah, I think it really, there's one thing that I've always hired for my entire career, and it has never failed me, and it is no different with AI. I don't care what you know. I care, do you have an innate sense of curiosity? Do you have a sense of individual agency? Is your natural response to a challenge to say, I don't know? Or is your natural response to say, I don't know, but I bet I can figure it out? And that sense of, I don't know, but I bet I can figure it out will be, in my mind, the single most important skill to hire for, to cultivate in yourself, because it's very easy to go for a do-it-for-me approach, but I really am looking for those people who say, teach me how to do it. So whenever somebody comes to me with a problem, my first question is, do you want the solution, or do you want me to show you how to build it? And if they say, do you want me to show you how to, I want you to show me how to build it, then I'm like, you are a person who will learn all of my secrets.
That reminds me, I've been doing office hours with the National Park Service. Diarra and I actually met at office hours at Stanford, and now I've leveraged office hours as like a structure for organizations. So I've got monthly office hours with the National Park Service, and folks will email in questions ahead of time, and I'll select a few questions. And I gave myself a challenge. I'm not gonna read these emails until we get on office hours. And there's 100 backcountry folks who are chasing grizzly bears out of parks and flying helicopters, and they're much cooler than me. And I'm like, okay, I want to show them something that there's no other way to show them. So I pull up this email from one of the Rangers. It's about this long in 10-point font, okay? Very detailed. And I said, respectfully, I chose not to read your email because I wanted to make a point. You sent me this email 3 weeks ago. Have you asked ChatGPT? You can see he kind of hit his forehead. And I copied his email, I dropped it into ChatGPT, and then I started interviewing him. What do you mean by this? Tell me more about that. And I'm just taking dictation. And ChatGPT was able to answer his question. I said, we fundamentally have to rewire our instinct that I got to wait for the expert. I learned this the hard way. I spent several $1,000s of my own money a few years ago before custom agents came out to learn how to code chatbots. And I spent several $1,000s, and then every time I go to the Discord to ask the TA a question, the TA takes 24 hours to respond, and then you know what their response is? Have you asked ChatGPT? And I'm like, dude, I paid a lot of money for this class, but I realized, intentionally or unintentionally, they're teaching me the meta skill. I don't need to wait 24 hours for a TA to respond. I've got a 24/7 tutor who's available to me if only I think to go there instead. So anyway, it's a very powerful reframe. I want to shift lastly, and we'll start with you, Rachael.
Yeah.
What should folks do today or Monday? I want to ask each of you, what's one simple thing you would say, if you do nothing else, do this today?
So being here at FICO and being an expert in Gen AI, the number of people that came up to me and said, I have an idea, I want to do this. And my question back to them was, what's stopping you? And I think we have the tools, we have the data, we have the know-how. I think what we're lacking is permission. And so I'm giving everyone in this room permission to go and start on that idea, because you're probably not gonna get it right on the first try, but you will get it right. So take down that fear of not having permission and act. And then reach out if you have problems with tools and things like that. but remove the bar to permission and do that starting Monday.
I love that. Jenny, what about you?
Open up ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, it does not matter which one, they're all good. Ask a question, and ask a question where you don't know what the answer is gonna be, and be willing to be surprised.
Beautiful. Diarra?
I love voice notes, so I would say whenever you have a moment today or on the weekend, just go in one of those tools and record a long voice note about this week. Pretend you're talking to a friend or a therapist and just dump everything that you learned this week or you've heard about or you're curious about, and have it tell you, ask it, how can you incorporate key learnings into your next week, and just see what happens, and you'll be very surprised. Whether it's personal, professional, weather, Miami, the food, anything, just go there. And I say voice note because it allows you to be spontaneous and not overthink it. You could just ramble and then see what happens.
There's so much here. We could do this panel for another 2 hours. I feel like I'm ready to enroll in your class. When's class begin? Thank you all for your attention, and we hope we get to see you in the lobby later today.